All right, let's see what do we got here. One second, Mama. What do you need? Do you need me to? Oh. Okay. What is it? Okay. All right, everyone. Here we go. The source is here. The information is here. All right. So let me just grab the right correct spreadsheets I have. And now let me pause over here. All right, everybody. What up? What up? We did a wonderful draft. It's about to be a really kick-ass season. There's a lot of information that you guys should be paying attention to. And the league is only as great as the members as well. So you guys have to do your part in making the league great. In us moving or making the trades for your rosters to be complete, for you to get the players that you drafted. We likely have moved some players that shouldn't be on your team. And also, we may have moved some of your reserve players, but not all of your reserve players. All right, so let's go back to the beginning. So here's what's going to happen. We all drafted 26 players. In custom online leagues, it's a 40-man player league. So every team is allowed 40 players or close to it, depending on the team. MLB The Show proofs on that. Not every team really gets 40 players, but they say it's their 40-man, whatever. It may be that someone is on a team's 40-man and they don't have the rights to create them in the game. That's why some teams don't have exactly 40. But the point is, we're all playing with a 40-man roster. You have your 26 out front, and you're going to get the ability to have some reserves so that you can do other things with. Like, guys will keep asking, oh, can I go swap a player? I drafted this guy, and I don't like him so much anymore, so on and so forth. Well, your reserves is the first measure of you tiddling and tinkering with swapping around players, right? So we're gonna have you start there. The reason why you should have been thinking about selecting the team that you really want to play with is also you should have been looking at the reserves, because when we initially set this up, that was what was told to you guys, but you probably don't remember. You're gonna draft 26, which is the players out front, and then when you go to the bench on the cards, in the game, and you go into your roster, manage roster. You go to the cards of the players. You go down to the bottom. You click X. There's some players in the background. Same thing with the pitching. You hit X on the starters. You hit X on the relievers. There's some players in the background. I know you guys think, well, why don't we need it? We don't really necessarily need them, but you have them there, so why not use them? So we all are going to have 40 players or close to it. Some of us are going to have less, depending on the franchise. A franchise like the Rays always has all their players on their 40-man because they're paying them no damn money. Yankees, I think the Reds are the ones that screwed up. They only have about 8 players in reserves. And it is what it is. How much ever players you have in reserves, it doesn't matter. Likely 4 or 5 of them are even useful. They're in the 70s or the 74s. Also, a lot of you guys have drafted low-end players, and this is a maneuver for you now to be able to flip out some of these low-end players. But the main reason why I'm posting this now is because in our moving around process of getting your team correct, we have not on accident, it just had to be that way, that we move some starters from other teams on your team. Like, for example, I have Enrique Hernandez, a starter on the Red Sox, starter/bench player, and I put him to my reserves. Like LJ is one guy, along with some other guys. While we were making the moves, you have some legit starters that are going to count when this season starts, are going to be counted as free agents. We're not using all 30 teams. The people that weren't drafted that could be starters elsewhere are going to be free agents. And we got a cool thing coming up with the free agents, and I'll tell you at the end of this, after I get this reserve stuff out of the way. So the reserves are an extension of your 26-man. You do things like, when your relievers are running low, or maybe you're not good with someone, you get to swap them out. The players that you didn't draft or are not on your reserve list that I posted, you cannot use. Now, when I created both leagues, some of the reserves are a little off. So, for example, I created the regular season maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks prior to the season, to the league I'm using to check the reserves. So some players, because the 40-man changes every freaking minute. So, but we're gonna go with the one. We're gonna go with these 2 that I have. I created 2 leagues, so we're gonna reconcile with the 2 leagues, but mainly we're gonna use the regular season that you're in right now as the main one. And if someone is like on like Brustar Gratterall is a Dodger reserve, he was sent down to the AAA, and I think when I created this league where I'm checking for the Dodgers reserves, he was still in the AAA, but when I created the regular season, he was up for a little bit. So Gigi will have him in the background and wants to use them, go ahead and use them. I don't care about the reserves to that extent. A lot of these guys are low-end players. You might have a top arm that throws 100, but you can't control. He has no control. So there's a way to circumvent everything. There's a way to beat everything. So don't be afraid, everybody. Go out there and win your games. But the point is, this is going to be an elite year. We're going to throw everything out there, starting with, you're going to draft, you know what this is already, you drafted a 26-man team. You're going to have 10 to 14 players in reserve. You're going to get close to 40. Then once the regular season starts, we're going to have waiver signings, which I'll explain later. And that's what I was touching on a little bit just now. And then we're going to have the trades. So you guys are going to have full access at changing and being a general manager, updating, bringing your roster up to your talent, swapping, moving, bringing players in that you need to be good. And this is what I always thought for the league, and hope that we played over the first couple of years. You guys are going to learn which players you probably aren't good with and start stop looking at names and start looking at people that you do good with in the game. And that's the idea within when the league gets truly elite. People will take the players that they can use, not the players that's a sexy name. So you're gonna have 26 players, which you already did. If you selected a really good team with a bank of a lot of players in the background, you can use those. You can use all those players, even if you don't have a whole lot, you can still use them. Majority of these players, 50% to less than 50% of them are low-end players, so they're likely not going to be used because you have better players in your 26. What else? You're gonna be able to make trades, and we're gonna have waiver signings at different points of the season, and it's gonna be based on your record. So it's gonna be like worst team is gonna be able to do waiver signings before the best team record wise. So we'll break that down before the start of the season, or maybe 5 games into the season. And all this is saying is you're going to have the opportunity to flip players out, and you're not stuck with one set of players, and you're going to have a lot of fun. But you need to pay attention. You need to make sure that you are using the players that you drafted and the players that I post for your reserves. Some of the players that are on your team, you should know, I didn't pick up this guy. I didn't draft this guy. Don't use him. And he's not on my reserves. Don't use him. This is why I'm posting it, because guys are already using players that we accidentally dropped on your team. And if, Enrique Hernandez is on my team, he's like a 78, but I drafted less lower players. So what's going to happen is once we do the trades, Enrique is going to go to the front, and then the player that I drafted is going to go to the back end. So if I don't go and look and put all the players that I drafted out front, I'm going to be playing with players that I shouldn't have. So that's what all of you need to do. The first thing you needed to do is get on your team, look at the spreadsheet I sent you, match it up to the 26 players out front, and make sure the drafted players are out front. Then once we straighten out your reserves and we say all of the players on the back end, you can do whatever you want. We haven't done that yet, but I can tell you now, we didn't move a lot of those guys when we were doing the trade. So these reserves that I'm posting, likely 70, 75% of them are already there. And I know guys have been using and are tempted to use them. So I need to put the list out there so you guys don't use the incorrect players. So that's the skinny. I'm going to do another video where we talk about waiver signings. That's for the start of the season. Then we're going to talk about trades, and we may get even fancier and start being able to trade draft picks for like next season. So it's gonna be sick. It's gonna be legit. It's gonna be just like the real world. You gotta be a good GM. You gotta factor in everything. You gotta do your own homework. You gotta do your own assessment of your skill level with the players that you have. You shouldn't just target a name. You should target who you're doing well with. We're gonna open up the whole books to doing everything that you see in real life. But first time around, we're gonna make some mistakes. So we're gonna have areas that we need to tighten up, and we're gonna do that for every year. Every year we hopefully get better at it. So that's the plan. So all this video is to remind you that you drafted 26 guys. Make sure all of those guys are out front. There are players that you can use that are on your reserves. Some people are already using them without knowing who they can and can't use. That's why I posted the reserves before or right around the start of the season. So we're looking to start the season after this WBC. We hope to end the WBC Monday, Tuesday, and then guys can knock out the next 2 days for scrimmaging games, because it's not been a long spring training. And then we can start first thing in June, maybe between June 1st and June 5th. We could start the season up, and guys could scrimmage all they want in between that time. So, and by then, we want to have all the reserve players that you should have on your team. So you would be able to use anyone without feeling like you're doing something wrong. So for now, make sure you do what I just said. Make sure you look at the drafted team that you selected, look at the reserves that I posted, and those are the players that you should be using. And we'll get it all ironed out so you can't make a mistake. Go ahead and have some fun, man. Let's play some baseball. More videos to come. I think there's one more thing I wanted to mention. That's why I'm stalling. Not really. It can't come to me, so I guess it's not that important. But just make sure you're not using players that you haven't drafted too hot. There's a reliever, Kyle Bradish, that you drafted. I don't think you can go ahead and just swap him out with Freak with another 54. Let's get on the phone or just send a text to get you another player to swap out for Kyle Bradish. You can't use anyone that wasn't selected in the draft. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Everyone, I also created a channel for you to check over your reserves. And if you see someone, you're going to post in that channel. I'm going to do it first so you can follow my lead. You can put your team name and then, do a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or number the list. So if you check the reserves that I've posted and you check on your team and you don't see a name, you give me a list of those players that you don't see, because that's the players we're going to be moving to your reserves. And honestly, we're probably not going to be able to get all your reserves because I'm checking on a league that was created after the regular season league that we're in. So some of you may not be able to get 1 or 2 players, but it is what it is. It's all low end crappy players anyway. There's probably just 3 to 4, 5 players with value there. So that's the skinny. The next video coming up, probably before the start of the season, we'll be talking other stuff like waivers, trade, how long the season will go, and what the season buying will be, and payouts and all that stuff. So thanks